So folks, you know what I hate about the world? Owning things. As a great man once said, rent the means of production, so why pay one big payment for something when you can instead make a series of perpetual payments? It's a never-ending world of fun, so come on down to Armchair Rentals Rental Emporium, where I can offer you a definitely not a scam super subscription. I'm sure you've been annoyed by capitalism's latest innovation, making everything a subscription. Every company on the face of the planet appears to be doing this, whether it's iTunes, mobile games, Microsoft Office, and this airbag vest that won't deploy its airbags in an emergency if you miss your payment. I don't mean to be groundbreaking here, but this is really annoying. For example, a few months ago, I wanted to cancel my Adobe subscription to use DaVinci Resolve instead. So I went to the Adobe page to cancel my subscription, and it turns out that if you try to cancel your subscription before the year is up, it will not only charge you for the rest of the year, but it will also remove your access from Adobe products. Presumably, in theory, under capitalism, I should have the right to switch to a competitor that is objectively better. If you're watching this and thinking, well, you have the right to switch, you just have to pay a fee that they buried in their fine print, I'm a little worried about you because it appears that you have brain damage from the boot being so far down your throat. I'm getting a little heated about this, so let's get back on track. Every company appears to have adopted a subscription model. So how did this happen, and why is it happening? And what's the solution? Well, luckily for me and you, all these questions are pretty easy to answer because companies are being pretty brazen about their motivations here. They want money. More specifically, they want consistent, reoccurring revenue. Subscriptions have been around for a long time. People used to pay a subscription to get milk delivered to them. People paid subscriptions for magazines as early as the 1800s. If you think that magazines today are wild, you should look at some of the old ones. Oh golly, what a wonderful year it is in 1938. I wonder who the Times Man of the Year is. As a white American man, I see absolutely nothing wrong with this. Subscriptions for physical things like magazines and milk do make sense. You're getting and using exactly what you're paying for. There's even more modern things like that make sense, like subscriptions for printer ink. These subscriptions where a company ships you something every month make sense because you own the item that they send you. This DSA magazine that I'm paying a subscription for is still mine. I own it and I can do whatever I want with it. Subscriptions also make sense when it comes to things where cloud services are required, like cloud storage. Servers have a lot of consistent year-over-year cost, and the storage isn't in your hands, it's in the hands of whatever server center is closest to you. That's not where things have started to get absolutely psychotic. The issue I touched on with Adobe is niche. In fact, most people who use Adobe Suite have it provided to them by their workplace. However, the same concept is being applied to people's personal lives as well. It's called software as a service. This is a business model that is unfortunately exploding in popularity, because it makes a lot of money with little to no effort on the company's part. In the early days of consumer software, you would buy a disk with something like Office on it. After you bought it, it was yours, and you could do whatever you wanted with it. When there was a feature update to Office, you could buy a disk that would update your version, usually at a discount if you already owned Office. However, if these features didn't appeal to you, you didn't have to spend any money at all. Now, I'm not a capitalism breeds innovation person, because it doesn't, nor am I the past was a better time person, because it wasn't. But it did give you ownership over what you bought. It also required companies to provide consistent featureful updates. Not only that, but it was also very easy to switch to a new software because you wouldn't be forced to pay a psychotic fee. All of this was fine until a young startup came with a new idea. What if instead of charging users a big upfront price, then having to entice them to pay again with useful features, they could instead charge users a small price every month, also known as landlording but over the internet, because getting into real life landlording wasn't enough. Eventually, subscription services became the standard for tech companies. Investors even go so far as to not support startups that don't have a subscription plan. So the vast majority of all new software that's built is only available as a subscription. This subscription model has been even creeping its way into hardware. Do you remember that airbag vest I briefly mentioned in the beginning? Well, that's a real product that you can buy right now called the AI-1. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's an airbag vest that exists to save lives that will not work if you miss a payment. Imagine a world where you're a motorcycle guy and that's your main mode of transport. Then one day you decide to buy this vest because it's a little cheaper than the others. Unfortunately, you're let go from where you work and you miss your airbag payment. Then you get into an accident. You're dead because you couldn't afford to pay a subscription to make the product that you own work. That world is the one we're in. If you say that he shouldn't have chosen to ride a motorcycle because they're dangerous, refer to the timestamp below. Companies adopting subscription models don't only include ones making safety equipment. Intel just recently announced software-activated cores, where you can pay to make your CPU faster. Many car companies already make you pay to activate their heated seats. Even Apple is looking into a subscription model for their phones. I guess that making the same phone over and over again year after year works better under a subscription model.
Boom. Roasted.
And here's the thing, Apple releasing the same thing over and over again is not a problem unique to Apple. Under the subscription model, since the company in question has already established themselves as a monopoly in the space, Adobe, They don't have to provide meaningful, featureful updates since they know you're going to pay anyway. So I've talked a lot about how subscription models are bad on the consumer side. So why specifically are they good on the company side? Well, they work so well because they are inherently predatory. The people who get the full value out of their subscription are not the majority of people who are subscribed. What they take advantage of is a way that humans perceive numbers. A good way of looking at this is music subscriptions. I'm an Apple Music subscriber because Apple owns me. As of the time of me writing this, I pay $10 a month to listen to music. Before the time of music subscriptions, you would pay about $1 a song. So in order to get my money's worth, I would have to add more than 10 songs to my library a month. So for the first few months, I got my money's worth. But as I've built my library up to how I like it, I've stopped adding so many songs, to the point that I probably now add about one song a month. Now I'm paying $9 more a month than I would have if I just bought the songs. My case here is not an uncommon one. If you think about your music library, you've probably not added more than 10 songs a month. So at this point, this subscription is costing me an extra $108 a year. Apply this logic to all your other subscriptions, and you're probably overpaying hundreds of dollars a year. That money could be used for any other number of fun things. So anyway, that $10 a month might be nothing to a lot of people. But you're also not just paying that. You're also paying for all your other subscriptions. The reality is that you don't get your money's worth out of these subscriptions, and companies rely on that. They also rely on another thing that people understandably do. Forget about the subscription. Personally, I forgot about a few things that I was paying for. I switched from Android to Apple a few months back. While I had my Android, I was paying a subscription for an app named Transit. I completely forgot about it until I got that charge on my statement for something I wasn't even using. This also applies to a lot of other things in our lives, like your gym subscription. If you say that you're responsible and that you've never forgotten a subscription, you're lying to yourself and everyone else. You can also feel free to refer to the timestamp below. My point here is that this business model is from the ground up predatory, and in order for it to be so profitable, it relies on that fact. The subscription industry was worth $650 billion in 2021, and it's projected to grow to $1.5 trillion by 2025. That growth means that more and more of your life will be conducted by what are basically rentals. You will own less and less while companies suck you dry, while they leech off the value that you create, and if that's not dystopian, I don't know what is. So all in all, subscriptions leech value off of you in a very exploitative way. This business model has taken more and more ownership from everyone, especially small artists. Capitalism is based on a constant, unsustainable growth. Innovating new and exciting things for people to buy just isn't as profitable as locking people in with a subscription. So what's the solution? Well, besides letting the workers of these companies seize the means of production, the immediate solution is consumer protection legislation, which, to be honest, is going to be a hard one to pass. Adobe, Apple, Disney, and every other tech company on the face of the earth spend millions of dollars in lobbying to prevent consumer protection legislation. And those pockets are pretty deep. So in this particular case, the best thing you can do is harass your representative. Make their job a little harder, because I promise it's pretty cushy. The best thing you can do to improve things in general is community organizing. This includes unionizing your workplace, running for local positions, and going to protest. When you watch the news today, national politics may seem pretty hopeless, but on a local level, you'd be surprised with just how much power you have. If you want to learn more about leftist politics, go to the DSA's website. They have great and easy to understand resources for everyone. If you enjoy this content, feel free to give me a like and subscribe. I post every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. I completely forgot to say see you next time while I was recording this, so see you next time, and maybe click on those videos that YouTube is recommending you up there. Have a good day.